Justin Turner wanted you to know that the Mariners' inactivity this offseason was especially problematic because of how good the Mariners' pitching staff is. And we talked about it last year. Probably the best pitching staff 1 through 5 of anybody in baseball. They had trouble hitting, of which Justin Turner was not exactly a help, but I digress because I don't want to make this about JT. I don't want to make this about the Mariners. He said the fact we missed the playoffs by 1 game and didn't go out and add an impact bat or two when you have the best pitching staff in baseball, that just seems absurd. Well, thank you, GM JT. The actual significant part of what he said was the end. Are you trying? Those are words that came out of a player about a former team. One of the things that has to be discussed is that the collective bargaining agreement does not require trying. It's not written. I'm not sure the word is anywhere in the agreement, though I could do a word search and one of you will. You have to take revenue sharing money to improve your major league product. And we've told you that that can mean signing players or getting a bigger weight room or signing more front office people to scout and develop. But nowhere in the collective bargaining agreement does it address to try. It can address to tank when you talk about the draft lottery and how teams who are revenue sharing recipients cannot, revenue sharing payors cannot receive top draft picks multiple years in a row. All sorts of new rules in the last CBA. They're going to be looked at in the new CBA. But the word trying and why we have Justin Turner saying the magic word is that it is a truth. I'm laughing because you're going to think that I am suffering from Thursday morning issues, which I'm not. And you're going to think that the collective bargaining negotiations, which don't start for a year, under a year, are not being done right now. And I've told you they've already started. When Tony Clark goes around to the different teams, which he does every spring, and he gives some great quotes that we talk about in MPDS. He is meeting with the teams, and he is, part one, making sure that his role and his rule is secure. Remember the coup that took place? If you don't, there was a faction of players trying to get rid of Clark. Didn't work. You go in, you meet your constituents, and you make sure that your role as union boss is set. Then the second part is preparing each team for what's coming next, each team of players for what's coming next. You've got the season, and then you've got an off season, then you've got another season, then you've got the work stoppage that is sure to come at the end of 26. Tony Clark is no fool. When he talks to his teams, each team individually, he's talking about the concept of why isn't more money being spent on you guys? And he's not talking to the top of the market because they're getting their money. They've always gotten their money. He's not talking to the minimum guys because the minimum guys are happy as all get out to be there. The fact that they're making more than the 20 grand a month at AAA and they're going to $760,000 somewhere. The minimum is around that, Coca, this year in the CBA, somewhere around 760, 765, whatever the case is. He's talking to the middle class, of which there are players like that, about 8 on every team, who are being paid less than they thought they should be paid, who had a hard time getting jobs, who are in spring training on non-roster invites where they're not guaranteed any money once the season starts if they don't make the team, called NRIs, non-roster invites. He's talking to that group of the constituents because he's very well aware that when it comes down to ratification of a collective bargaining agreement, you've got the executive council, which consists of players who each get a vote, and then each team gets a vote. You remember last CBA when not one member of Boris's executive council voted to ratify the new CBA, but every team rep did, and it was enough to ratify the CBA and to neuter Boris's power. So when you read Justin Turner talking about, are you trying? Why aren't we adding hitting? Now, granted, I had the Mariners winning the World Series last year, as you recall. I didn't get that right. I thought that Luis Castillo would be the Cy Young winner. Chance that Julio Rodriguez would win the MVP. I'm just throwing it out there that I share the frustration in the performance of the Mariners, but the manipulative nature of this quote by Justin Turner should not be underestimated. He's a smart guy. He's not just talking for the sake of talking. The underpinning, the actual meaning of what he's saying is what you should be focused on, not the fact that the Mariners can't find another bat. He then did something which I truly did appreciate as a former president of the team. He gave a mea culpa to Jerry Dipoto. Jerry Dipoto is the president of baseball operations for the Mariners. And he said, I think Jerry catches a bad rap for a lot of these trades and how crazy some of the trades have been. But now being a part of it, by the way, he played 48 games, but anyway, but now being a part of it, I kind of understand. He doesn't have any money to spend. So he's got to create money. Like, okay, is it really Jerry's fault? I appreciate that, JT, that you understanding that sometimes it's not the fault of the GM or the team president, that you're given a budget to work with by your owner and you operate within that budget. And sometimes trades have to be made that you get blamed for, Cabrera. And at the end of the day, you had simply no choice because of where your payroll was. So I would like all of you to please believe in Justin Turner when he talks about how it's not an executive's fault, but not believe Justin Turner when he talks about the fact that teams aren't trying, they need to try. Why aren't they getting more hitters? Conclusion. When something that someone says fits the narrative of what you would like people to think about yourself and the job you do, lean into it, embrace it, love it. When that same person in the same conversation says something that goes against your best interests and impugns your quality and abilities as an executive, then criticize it, don't believe it, and you will be able to sleep like a baby.